Good morning. Today is the 21st day of Tammuz on the Hebrew calendar, and as I mentioned last week, we are now in a specific zone on the Jewish calendar between the fast days of the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av, known as Tisha B'Av, which is a time where there's focus on the destruction of two temples, the destruction of the Jewish Commonwealth, the disconnect that we've experienced now for 2,000 years between us and ourselves, between us and our people, between us and God. And I'm assuming that the Rebbe's post, the Rebbe's insertion in his for today, in his book of daily thoughts for the 21st of Tammuz relates to that, because in 1943 it was a Shabbos, and it's a little bit of a slightly lengthier post, but it seems to be very in line with the theme of what's going on, and in the idea, again, a very Hasidic or Rebbe approach is to recognize that there needs to be mourning for the destruction that exists while maintaining perspective that some things can never be destroyed. Trying to see beneath the surface and finding the empowering, the positive, the everlasting, the internal part of what's within us and within society. So to read the Rebbe's insert for today's day, the 21st of Tammuz, he refers to a scriptural verse in which God tells us to make a sanctuary. It was a tabernacle in the desert, became the holy temple, the Beis Hamikdash, later on in history. And that verse says, "They shall make me a sanctuary, and I shall dwell within them," in plural. In other words, it's sanctuary, I would dwell within it, one would think. It says dwell within them. And the Rebbe points out, within them means within each of our hearts. In other words, each of us can be a sanctuary for God, and needs to be a sanctuary for God. The core point of the heart's inner essence is a sanctuary for God's dwelling. And now the Rebbe goes further. He says the site of the sanctuary remains sacred even in times of the exile and desolation. There's no temple anymore. Temple's gone. But the site of the sanctuary is still holy. The place of the Western Wall is holy. Even though the temple, the function, the what made it so special in the sense that there was an ambiance, there was service going on. If you walked into the building, you knew there was a God. There was no question. There was this clear connection and embrace of the divine. The spirituality remains whole. The soul remains whole, even though the body has been destroyed. It is desolate. The Medrash tells us that the divine presence never departs from the Western Wall. In other words, all the desolation is limited to the buildings. And here the Rebbe continues that applies to our personal sanctuary too. The Medrash points out that there's a verse in the Song of Songs which says, and it's referring to God, "I am asleep, but my heart is alert." So in other words, on one level, there's no interaction. You're asleep. But that's only on a more functional level. My heart is alert. So the Medrash comments, "I'm asleep for mitzvahs, but my heart is alert for acts of kindness." In other words, the sense of connection may not be there, but I'm still functioning properly. "I'm asleep for charities, but my heart is alert to perform them." Every form of spiritual desolation, may God rescue us from such, is found in the people of Israel, is only in those aspects of the people analogous to building above the foundation. The Rebbe is calling the foundation, and a builder, Scott, would know that, and those of us who watch would know, a foundation is absolutely critical. Perhaps the most critical part of a building, but it's kind of out of sight. So the desolation is only for the above ground part. The foundation in our personal temple, no matter what may be going on the functional level, and how desolate it may appear or act, the foundation is always pure, always strong. The foundation of the individual sanctuary remains in its holy place. So the Rebbe is pointing out especially in this time when we mourn the temple, it should not come to a point where we identify with the destruction so much that we think it's all lost. Not on a global level, not on a personal level. Our essence is connected. Our essence is good. We can connect with that. We can express it at any time we want to. And in this period of time, as much as we will be fasting and we will be focusing on the destruction and the anti-Semitism, the problems we've gone through for millennia, and is something it's current events too, at some level. We have to battle it, we have to recognize it, we have to battle it, but we should never forget that our soul is whole, our connectedness with God is whole. We have an existence and an essence which cannot be touched, cannot be scathed by anything around us. It's us and God, and we will persevere. And one of the ways of persevering is knowing that God is the wind at our backs, and deep inside, we've got it all together. Have a great day.